Life doesn't begin until you find yourself. But who are you really? And why is it so hard to face this truth? This is not just a poetic question, it's the most urgent riddle of our existence. Jesus once said, "You shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free." Yet, if we are honest, most of us are terrified of that freedom. Why? Because it demands removing the masks we've worn for so long, masks that kept us accepted but left us empty inside. Think about it. How many times have you smiled in a room full of people, while a quiet voice inside whispered, "No one here truly knows me"? How many times have you hidden your real feelings because you feared rejection? We live in a world where wearing masks has become second nature. We play roles at work, with family, even with friends, hoping to belong, but slowly losing ourselves in the process. And maybe that's why so many today feel like strangers in their own skin. They scroll through social media, comparing, pretending, performing, and then, at night, lying in bed, they wonder, why do I feel so disconnected, even when surrounded by people? This silent despair is the wound of our time, the aching sense that we are not living our life, but someone else's script. But here is the promise: the path to freedom is not hidden. Across different traditions, Jesus in the Gospels, Jung in psychology, quantum physicists exploring consciousness, philosophers like Kierkegaard and Nietzsche, and the ancient wisdom of Buddhism, there is a common thread. They all point to a single truth: that salvation, healing, individuation, enlightenment, whatever name you give it, begins when you dare to strip away the mask and meet your true self. This video is not just information. It's a companion for those who feel the weight of emptiness, confusion, or inner conflict. If you've ever felt lost, if you've ever carried a secret fear that you are not enough, or wondered if there's more to life than just surviving, then this journey is for you. Stay with it, because the moment you face the truth about who you are, a door opens not to a new version of yourself, but to the one you were always meant to be. Carl Jung once spoke about the persona, the mask we wear to function in society. It's not inherently bad. It helps us adapt, be polite, and survive in a world that demands conformity. But here lies the danger. When the mask becomes the face, we forget the living, breathing soul behind it. We end up performing roles so well that we mistake the performance for life itself. Jesus described something similar when he spoke of the whitewashed tombs in the Gospel of Matthew, beautiful on the outside, but hollow and lifeless within. Isn't that exactly what happens when we devote our energy to appearances, while neglecting the depth of who we truly are? We polish the surface, we decorate the mask, but inside, there's a silent cry for authenticity. Kierkegaard, the philosopher of existential despair, warned about this very danger. He said that the deepest despair is not the loss of wealth, health, or opportunity, it is the despair of not being oneself. Imagine that, to go through an entire lifetime never meeting your real self, never living your own destiny, but only a version crafted by expectations, culture, or fear. And modern psychology confirms this. From childhood, we learn what is acceptable and what must be hidden. Trauma teaches us to cover our wounds, society rewards us for obedience, and slowly, we build a false identity. It may look successful, even admirable, but inside it feels empty. Many people today live out scripts that were never theirs to begin with, roles handed down by parents, communities, or the silent tyranny of comparison. Pause for a moment and reflect. In what areas of your life are you performing instead of truly living? When do you feel that subtle tension between what you show and what you feel inside? It may happen in meetings at work, in family gatherings, or even while scrolling through your phone. This is the beginning of awakening the courage to notice when you are acting out of fear rather than truth. And here is the uncomfortable but liberating insight. The unlived life doesn't go away just because we ignore it. It waits for us. It whispers in moments of boredom, shouts in moments of crisis, and insists that one day we will face the truth of who we are. The only question is, will we keep running from it, or will we turn around and finally listen? Jung called it the shadow, the hidden side of ourselves we would rather deny. It holds our repressed fears, unhealed traumas, forbidden desires, and unacknowledged anger. Most people spend their lives trying to outrun this darkness, pretending it doesn't exist. But here is the paradox. The more you run from the shadow, the more power it gains over you. Jesus' words, "You shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free," are not only about beliefs. They also speak to this inner reality. Freedom comes when we stop lying to ourselves. Facing the shadow is uncomfortable, sometimes even painful, but it is the only path to liberation. Without truth, the masks stay on, and the unlived life keeps haunting us. In Buddhism, the same idea appears in the teaching of samskara, the mental imprints left by past actions, often accompanied by what are called the poisons of the mind: greed, anger, ignorance. These poisons are not abstract. They show up in daily life when envy burns inside us, when judgment poisons relationships, when fear keeps us paralyzed. They are shadows, waiting to be seen. Even quantum physics offers an intriguing parallel. In the quantum field, nothing truly disappears. Energy only changes form. In the same way, what we repress within us doesn't vanish, it hides, waiting to resurface. The pain we avoid, the anger we swallow, the shame we bury, these energies remain in the unconscious, shaping our reactions and choices until we are brave enough to face them. How can you begin to see your own shadow? Start by observing your projections. Notice when someone irritates you more than they should. Pay attention to the judgments that flare up suddenly, the people who trigger you without reason. Often, those reactions are mirrors, revealing parts of yourself you have not yet accepted. What you most condemn in others may be a reflection of what you fear or deny within. And let's be honest, many people begin this journey and quit halfway. It feels overwhelming. They journal for a week, meditate for a month, then retreat back into comfort because the pain of self-discovery feels heavier than the chains of illusion. If that has happened to you, know this: you are not failing. The very resistance you feel is a sign that the shadow has been touched. The fact that it feels uncomfortable means you are close to freedom. But here's the deeper mystery. The shadow is not your enemy. It is the guardian of your hidden power. Inside the darkness lies the gold you've been searching for: the passion, creativity, and vitality that only emerge when you dare to look at what you once feared. The shadow, once embraced, becomes the doorway to wholeness. The only question is, will you open that door? Jung described individuation as the journey of becoming whole, the integration of all parts of the psyche, the persona, the shadow, the anima and animus, and finally, the self. It's not about perfection, but about authenticity. It is the slow, often painful work of reconciling the fragments we've hidden, ignored, or misunderstood, and allowing them to belong in the house of our being. Jesus echoed this inner alchemy when he said, "The kingdom of God is within you," Luke 17:21. The true temple is not built of stone, it is the inner space where we bring together our contradictions, forgive our past, and uncover the divine spark hidden beneath layers of conditioning. The gospel is not only about salvation after death, it is a call to wholeness here and now. Nietzsche, often misread as a prophet of nihilism, also pointed in this direction. His cry, "Become who you are," is not a slogan for selfishness but a demand for courage. To become who you are means to strip away every borrowed identity until the essential remains. It is the same battle Jesus spoke of, the same liberation Jung described, the radical courage to face the truth of oneself. In neuroscience and psychology, we see this truth mirrored again. Dr. Joe Dispenza teaches that most people live 95% of their lives in unconscious patterns, habits wired into the brain by past experience. Individuation is the conscious interruption of these loops, the moment when we stop reacting automatically and begin choosing deliberately. Every conscious choice rewires the brain. Every act of awareness reshapes our future. Psychology also reminds us that authenticity is not a luxury, it is the foundation of mental health. Studies in positive psychology show that people who live in alignment with their values experience less anxiety, deeper resilience, and greater joy. The unlived life breeds despair, but the individuated life radiates peace, because nothing is wasted. Every wound, every shadow, every dream finds its place. A simple practice to begin this work is journaling. Not the polished kind where you try to sound wise, but raw, unfiltered writing. Ask yourself, What emotions am I suppressing today? What dreams keep returning to me? What part of me am I afraid to show the world? When you write honestly, you invite the unconscious to speak. Over time, the fragments of your inner world begin to weave together into a clearer, stronger self. The process of individuation is not a weekend project. It is a lifelong pilgrimage, but every step brings a deeper sense of freedom. And here's the paradox. The more you accept your flaws, the more you discover your light. The self is not created, it is uncovered. The real you is waiting, not in some distant future, but in the quiet courage of today's choices. The only question is, are you willing to take the next step toward your wholeness? Jung discovered something profound. Beneath our personal stories lies a deeper layer of the psyche, the collective unconscious. It's like a vast ocean of images, symbols, and patterns that humanity shares across time and culture. From this ocean arise the archetypes, the hero, the sage, the shadow, the mother, the trickster. They are not random. They are the universal scripts through which our souls learn, grow, and awaken. The Gospels themselves are alive with archetypal power. In Christ, we see the hero who descends into darkness, the teacher who illuminates truth, the sacrificial one who redeems, and the risen one who transcends death. These images are not only about him, they are mirrors for us. Every soul is invited into the same journey, to confront its shadow, carry its cross, and rise renewed. Long before Jung, philosophers intuited this reality. Plato spoke of the world of ideas, eternal forms beyond the material world that shape everything we experience. Archetypes are like those eternal blueprints, patterns that show up in myths, literature, and even our dreams. When you read an ancient story and feel strangely moved, it's because an archetype inside you is being awakened. In Buddhism, archetypes appear as bodhisattvas, the enlightened beings who embody compassion, wisdom, or courage. They are more than symbols. They are living reminders of the qualities that already sleep within us. When we meditate on compassion, for instance, we're not importing something foreign. We're awakening what was already written in the fabric of our being. Even quantum physics offers a fascinating resonance. Think of Amit Goswami's idea of the unified field, an invisible matrix from which all forms emerge. The collective unconscious functions in a similar way. A field of shared meaning, an invisible web that connects us across time and culture. Archetypes are like waves rising out of this vast ocean, shaping the stories we live. Here's the practical insight. Every myth you encounter, every movie that stirs you, every dream that lingers in your memory is not random entertainment, it's a message from the collective unconscious. The hero's journey in films, the wise mentor in stories, the villain that tempts or threatens, all of these are also happening inside you. When you pay attention, you begin to see that life itself is mythic. So reflect for a moment. What archetypes are most alive in your life right now? Are you stuck in the role of the victim, waiting for rescue? Are you being called into the path of the seeker or the healer? Or are you resisting the shadow that keeps knocking at your door? To recognize your archetype is to recognize your place in the great story humanity has always been telling. And once you see it, you realize you were never just living your own little life. You were part of something infinitely larger. The ego is not the enemy, it's the operating system that helps us navigate daily life. But problems arise when we confuse the ego with the whole of who we are. The ego is narrow, fragile, obsessed with roles, titles, and achievements. It whispers, you are your job, your reputation, your possessions, your past mistakes. And yet, deep inside, you know you are more than this small story. Jesus spoke of this paradox with striking clarity. Whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. Matthew 16:25. On the surface, it sounds like a loss, but it is actually a liberation. To lose the ego's limited identity is to discover the self, the divine essence that cannot be reduced to labels. The life you are asked to lose is the false life built on appearances. The life you find is the eternal truth within. Philosopher Blaise Pascal once wrote, "Man infinitely surpasses man. The ego cannot contain the depth of the soul. It is like trying to fit the ocean into a cup. Our true nature is vast, infinite, rooted in a reality beyond comprehension. That is why, No matter how much the ego achieves, it never feels enough. It was never designed to carry the weight of eternity. Buddhism echoes this truth through the doctrine of anatta, the teaching of non-self. It does not mean we are nothing. It means that the identity we cling to is an illusion. Just as a wave is not separate from the ocean, we are not separate from the field of consciousness. The ego may shout, "This is me," but in silence we discover we are part of something far greater. Quantum physics provides a striking metaphor here. Reality at the subatomic level is not fixed. Particles exist in states of potential until observed. Likewise, identity is fluid, dynamic, ever-changing. You are not the rigid construct you think you are. You are a field of infinite possibilities, collapsing into roles moment by moment. The ego says, "I am fixed," but the universe says, "You are becoming." Here's a practice. Begin noticing the labels you carry. Do you define yourself only by your work, your family role, your past, or your failures? What happens if, for a day, you experiment with letting those labels go? Instead of saying, "I am anxious," try, "I am experiencing anxiety," instead of "I am a failure." Try, "I went through a failure." Small shifts like these loosen the grip of ego and open the door to the self. The illusion of the ego is seductive because it offers control and certainty, but its promises always end in restlessness. True peace comes when we dare to release the small identity and open ourselves to the larger self. And yet, this is not the final step, because beyond ego, beyond even self-discovery, lies the ongoing path of transformation, a journey that calls us deeper still. Transformation is not a single event, it is a lifelong pilgrimage. It's the weaving together of wisdom from different traditions, each offering a piece of the puzzle. Jesus points us to love and surrender. Love one another as I have loved you. Jung teaches us individuation, the courage to integrate shadow and light. Buddhism reminds us of compassion and presence in every breath. Quantum physics whispers that consciousness itself shapes reality. And philosophy continually asks us, what does it mean to live a truly authentic, meaningful life? But here is the challenge. Transformation is rarely glamorous. It's not about fireworks or instant enlightenment. It's about the quiet, daily practice of showing up. It's catching yourself before reacting in anger. It's choosing to forgive when resentment feels easier. It's creating space for silence in a noisy world. These small, invisible acts shape a destiny far greater than we realize. Many people expect transformation to be quick, but the truth is it often feels like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Some days you feel clarity, other days you fall into old patterns. And yet, this rhythm is part of the journey. Like a sculptor chiseling stone, each strike shapes the masterpiece. The setbacks, the struggles, the doubts, they are not interruptions, but essential movements of growth. The beauty is that we do not walk this path alone. Scroll through the voices of countless seekers across time, saints, poets, mystics, psychologists, even modern teachers, and you'll hear echoes of your own questions. And even today, when people share their comments and stories online, they reveal the same hunger, the longing to live authentically, to heal, to awaken. These voices remind us that transformation is not a private struggle, but a collective symphony. What practices anchor this transformation? Silence, prayer, and meditation are timeless companions, helping us listen beyond the noise of the ego. Self-observation, watching our thoughts without judgment, gives us freedom from old patterns. Creative expression, writing, art, music becomes a channel for the unconscious to speak. And love, expressed in service and kindness, is the ultimate alchemy. It transforms both the giver and the receiver. So perhaps the question is not, when will I finally be transformed? But rather, how can I live transformation today? Because transformation is not a distant mountain to climb, it is the way you breathe, the way you speak, the way you choose presence over distraction in this very moment. And as you begin to live this way, something extraordinary happens. You realize the self was never missing. It was simply waiting to be remembered. At some point in every seeker's journey, there comes a moment of revelation. The realization that the self you've been searching for was never truly lost. It was only hidden, veiled beneath layers of fear, conditioning, and masks. And suddenly, like sunlight breaking through the clouds, the truth becomes undeniable. What you've been longing for has always lived within you. Jesus illustrated this in the parable of the prodigal son. The son wandered, lost himself in illusions, and yet, when he returned, the father ran to embrace him. That story is not just about morality. It's about memory. You were never truly separated. You were never abandoned. Home has always been within you. Carl Jung described the self as the totality, the union of conscious and unconscious, shadow and light. To arrive here is not to invent a new identity, but to remember what has always been whole. The very darkness you resisted becomes part of the wholeness you embrace. Individuation is not becoming perfect, but becoming complete. Quantum physics, too, whispers this same mystery. You are not a separate fragment drifting in a cold universe. You are part of the infinite field, waves collapsing into form, inseparable from the whole. When you awaken to this, loneliness dissolves not because the world changes, but because you realize you were never an isolated particle at all. And the philosophers echo it. Tolstoy once said, "Life has meaning only when it is lived for something greater than oneself." The turning point comes when you stop living in the narrow prison of me and begin to live as an expression of something infinite, something that transcends the fragile stories of the ego. But here's the paradox. This self has always been present, even in your wandering. Just as the ocean never ceases to be water, even when it rises as waves, you have never ceased to be whole. The pain, the confusion, the running away, it was all part of the dance that leads you back home. The climax of this journey is not fireworks or ecstatic visions. It is quieter, more intimate. It is the moment you dare to stop running. The moment you look into the mirror and without excuses, without masks, you whisper to yourself, "Here I am." And instead of rejection, you discover acceptance. Instead of emptiness, you feel fullness. Instead of being lost, you realize you are found. This is the birth of authentic life. This is the turning point where existence is no longer about survival, but about presence, where relationships are no longer about masks, but about real connection, where pain is no longer a curse, but a teacher, where silence is no longer frightening, but alive with the pulse of eternity. The climax is not about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you've always been, a child of the infinite, a spark of the divine, a consciousness vast enough to hold both suffering and joy, both shadow and light. And when this realization breaks through, even for a moment, life begins anew. You don't need to become someone new. The truth is, you've been here all along. Every mask, every fear, every shadow was never meant to hide you forever. It only delayed your remembering. Jesus said, "I came that they may have life, and have it abundantly." John 10:10. Abundance is not in possessions, titles, or approval. It's in presence, in courage, in embracing your whole self. The path forward is simple in principle, though not always easy in practice. Don't run from the shadow. Don't deny the parts of yourself you fear. Sit with them, observe them, love them. In this sacred acknowledgement, transformation unfolds. Journaling, meditation, prayer, and mindful silence become more than practices. They become portals to the self you've always been. Look around. You are not alone. Every comment, every shared story, every whisper of curiosity and longing in someone's heart is proof that countless others are walking the same path. Your struggle, your awakening, your courage, they are part of a living, breathing community of seekers, all moving toward wholeness together. And now, a gentle invitation. Reflect, apply, and experiment. Notice today where you've been living behind a mask. Catch yourself when ego and fear dictate your choices. Start small, and let each conscious act ripple outward. And when this video has spoken to you, share your experience in the comments. By doing so, you strengthen not only your journey but the collective awakening of everyone watching. If this message resonated, take another step. Subscribe, leave a like, and activate notifications. The journey does not end here. Every insight, every practice, every reflection is part of a continuous unfolding. Your life, lived consciously, is the ultimate testament that truth liberates and that freedom is always within reach.